When it comes to acting talent, New York stages always have an embarrassment of riches on display. Today's guests are just a few of the crown jewels. Hello, I'm Howard Sherman, Executive Director of the American Theater Wing, and I'm delighted to welcome today's gathering of performers of extraordinary gifts, experience, and achievement. Joining us are David Alan Grier, Anthony LaPaglia, Laura Linney, Jan Maxwell, and Alfred Molina. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
When you are first sent a script to do a show, what, aside from the number of lines that your character might have, are the things that come into play when you think about whether it's a role that you want to do? I'm going to start with Alfred.
I always think it's if it's something that you read that you really like, or it has an immediate impact on you. It's not a punching the air moment. It's not one of those things where you suddenly go, "Oh my God, yes, I found a great play," or it's actually a sinking feeling, because the more you realise that you've got to do it, you realise that all your options are closing, and you suddenly sit there kind of going, "Oh, I've got to do this play now," and it's a very odd thing. I mean, I don't know if anyone else shares that, but it's not a wonderful sort of high moment. You suddenly realise, well, I can't do that, and that other job that might have worked out, I can't do that, I've got to do this. And then you sort of focus in on it, and then of course it's my wife always says that the best part of any job is the offer. And the rest of it sort of is kind of, I don't know, it's like, it's just, then it's just work, and you know.
There's that moment when you start reading something and your actor brain will just turn on. You can't help it. You start working on it before you finished it. And you're not doing it voluntarily. It's an involuntary thing that starts to happen. You start making connections. You start seeing the architecture of the script. You start seeing how things are flowing and what can be done, the potential of it. And I think that's always a moment where at least I have to go, oh, I have to really take this seriously, because something is already, there's been some connections already been made.
In the case of Race, it's written by David Mamet, so I've known and loved his work since I started acting. So it was the potential. I just wanted to like the play. I'd heard about it, I'd read about it, but I had never read the piece. When I got the script, there was the feeling of, I hope I'm not let down. It's called Race. That's like a play called Sex, but people just eat ice cream. I wanted it to be great, so I read it and I was pleasantly surprised, and then I moved on from there. But that's the most thing. I just want to like it. I mean, there's nothing worse than, there's all this build-up. We've gotten you the script. We don't know how we did it. You have disappointment, and you read it and you're disappointed. So I just want to like the piece, and then everything else clicks in. How many lines? How tall am I? Where am I? But just the play.
Mine's more of a kind of an instinctual thing, where pretty much right away, I would say within 20 pages or so, if I'm really engaged in it, it's that thing you were talking about. There's an automatic connection where I start identifying with that character. I understand the character more or less on the page. And once I start feeling that, I know I'm on to the right thing. There's been times where I've gone back and read it, 2 or 3 times to make sure. And usually by the second read, I go, this is not for me. Or yes, it is for me. But mostly it happens on the first read through, where it's just, I can't explain it, it's just an instinctual feeling that I can connect with this material, or I relate to this material in some way.
I wish I was sent scripts. I'm not of that echelon. I have to sometimes, because I don't have a name, I have to look at a script and say, how can I make this work, for me? I audition, for things because I need to pay for my son's camp or something like that.
Have any of you had the experience of either being sent a script or auditioning for a role and thinking, there's this other part that I think might be more interesting for me? Has that happened?
Yeah, that's happened to me. I mean, but a stranger thing is, I think I'm the only person that actually read for Race. Everybody else was given an offer, and initially this was supposed to be a meeting, but I didn't really feel comfortable with that. I mean, I wanted to read for the part because I don't like meetings where how are they going to get a sense that I can play anything if I'm like, we're just chatting about the weather, and you know, it's just I don't like that. So especially for this, I wanted to read, and it was great. I mean, I like reading, especially when you have something to read. If there's nothing to read, then we can have a meeting. Right, much rather.
I agree.
At
I mean,
least I feel like I
absolutely.
walk out of the room and I've shown you the character.
I agree,
And
though.
it's not me. You know what I mean?
You're not just selling yourself.
Yeah,
You're selling
yeah.
your
Right.
talent.
I
Like,
agree
I'm
with
a-
that because I think
yeah.
also directors have, especially if they offer you something that they've not seen you do before.
Right.
I think they have a right to get a sense of whether you can do it or not.
I also want to audition the director.
Well, there's
I
also
also
that.
want the opportunity to be in the room with the producers and the director and get a sense of, do I want to spend an enormous amount of time with these people?
I
There's a
learned
lot
that.
of
I learned
shorthand,
that.
don't you think? You're showing them a taste of, all right, this is kind of the direction or your thoughts on this character. It's not fully
Yeah.
formed.
No.
And so it's already, the dialogue has already started.
Yeah.
So you're showing them kind of what you think about this play, this character, and you're getting their feedback. So
But it was a mistake I made many times, was taking parts because I really liked the part, but I didn't really look at the whole package. I didn't really take the director or who was producing it into that much consideration. And more than once, that blew up in my face, I would say. I do think you have to take the whole package into consideration because
But that's only something you learn
As you go along.
As you go on, you
As-
kind of get some experience. Because as a younger actor, I did that constantly.
Me too, yeah.
I would accept a job just because I was flattered enough that I'd been asked.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know.
I'm still that way.
You say,
Yeah.
Oh, Fred, we'd like you. Would you be interested in playing the third spear? Yes. Oh, thank you. And I'd go off, and then you find yourself in some sort of terrible kind of
Perfect storm.
some awful
But
situation.
do you know the dread for me it starts after, you know, you get this part, and then I've never worked with this director. This is a new play. I don't know these other people. Who's really here? They haven't really cast it. I can't work with this one actor. I hope they don't give that actor this role. You know, and just there's so many variables, and that's where the dread for me. You walk in the room that first day. It's like going back to school, and then it's like, okay. Everybody seems nice. Everybody seems fine, and a wonderful working environment. So it comes off. I mean, you know.
One thing, I don't know if any of you guys feel this way, but also when I'm reading a script, there has to be something about it that I don't understand. There has to be, if I'm too knowing, if I think I have all the answers about this play, this production, this character, the dynamics, if I think I know it all, then that's a disaster. But
You're a director.
I have like the fear factor thing.
Yeah,
If
that
I
scares
read it
me.
and I go, oh God, I don't know, I can do this. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And if I have that fear,
Yeah.
then I know I should do it.
or does this work?
If I
Is
don't
this,
have the
or what is
fear,
this?
I know.
What is this really about? Like what?
Yeah.
There has to be something also that I haven't, so that you know you can have a process while you're working on it that you'll grow.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cliche now, but the place of, you know, for anybody who's involved in any kind of creative work, the place of least comfort is always, I think, invariably the most exciting.
Whee!
You know, because you don't quite, as you say, Tony, you don't quite know whether you can even pull this off.
Yeah.
I know with almost within
a great feeling.
millimeter of
It's a
certainty that if I'm scared of it and I want to run away, I should do it.
Yes, exactly.
It's almost like that's the litmus test.
But doesn't that change? I mean, because like I call it like a cycle of I go, oh, I want to do that project. You read it and you go, I can do this. I know this character. Then you start, and that's when all that stuff says, well, maybe I don't have it figured out. I don't know if I can do this. And then you discover through rehearsal and okay, yeah, I think I can. I think I've discovered a route to take. Then you think you found it. And then further on in the run, I remember it happened in Race where for like 2 weeks, I just got really depressed because I was like, I thought I had it, but I lost it. Where did it go? And then we would talk amongst ourselves, and then you find it and rediscover it. I mean, it's like, Me, or is that just bipolar?
No, I think. But do any of you guys have the 3-week crisis?
Absolutely.
Of
The
course,
third
that's
week
what I'm
is
talking
terrible.
about.
You have
That's
that-
what I'm
Week
talking
three.
You wake up that
about.
morning, the 3rd week, you wake up one morning, you think, and you're on the phone about to, I have to pull out of
I
this.
know,
I'm
a friend of
sorry.
mine calls it the salt mine.
That's what exactly what I'm talking
The
about.
3rd week is the salt mine period.
always-
where
it's
you're
always
just
the
like,
third
you're
week.
1,000
Yeah.
feet
And you're
underground
really
digging
convinced
for
that the
salt.
best
Yeah.
thing you can do for everyone concerned is to pull out.
Is to
and
bow out.
you know.
Thank you so much for
It actually,
trusting me
in my
with
case,
this,
it often
but-
is the best thing for the entire trip.
but yeah.
As we talk about this, what's going on in your mind? You talked about getting the part, talked about going through the rehearsals, but in the period from the time you know you're going to play a role until you get to that first rehearsal, what is the work that you do? How much preparation do you do on your own, and how much do you start forming a character or not before you get there?
Well, I mean, again, to me, if it's a new play, that's different than doing a play that I've wanted to do, that I've seen other productions of, whether it's Shakespeare or Chekhov or a contemporary play. To me, it depends on the piece. If it's a classical piece, that would be a different preparation, wouldn't you think? I mean, a classic role that we've all seen before, whether it's Romeo and Juliet or
And
Othello.
also, if you're
or
playing a
something
role,
like that.
if the character you're playing is someone who actually existed historically, or if it's completely fictional, there might be some homework to do. Yeah, it kind of depends, really.
It's research.
Friends of mine call it golden time. It's having a job you don't have to show up to
Yes.
yet. That you're just
right.
happy that you have.
Yeah.
But I think that once you go into the trenches, it's, I think it's research to me is the most interesting part about acting. I
Yeah, it's
really
fun. It
absolutely
is.
love to
fun.
research different things, and it's different things for you might research something more if it's a comedy or something. It's but
It's
I
because when you're
absolutely love it.
researching, you're brilliant in the part.
That's right.
And no one can question
Especially
you.
when you're brushing your teeth in the morning.
But I hesitate and always am careful about not doing too much before. Like the research, the context, I'll do a lot of research on context, place, if someone has a particular profession, anything that could inform the character. But I don't go into the deeper work because I want to knit whatever I'm doing to the person I'm working with.
Right.
So that the responses to things don't come from me, but really come from whatever I'm working with.
You can
so I hesitate
really,
there.
I do a lot of reading about what you're saying about the outside, the
Yeah.
peripheral stuff and the world.
The contributing factor.
Yes, the world. But I agree. Is that I have once or twice thought, I'm really going to get ahead of this, and I'm really going to kind of like do all the detailed stuff. And then you get there and you get opposite the actor and you go, oh, they interpreted this much differently than I. So it really, because it really is about what the other person. It's the combination of what you're giving them and what they're giving you. And if you're locked into a certain mindset or an idea of
Yeah.
what something should be, it's nothing but trouble.
And then it's
Yeah.
not a shared experience. Just as the audience shares with the people on stage, the people on stage are sharing with each other. And if it's a predetermined thing, then it's a little, it's hard to.
It's called
To get
procedural
through.
television. That's what it's called.
So you could kind of give the research a light touch. Like for Royal Family, I looked up the Barrymores, but it had nothing to do with the Barrymores. You can't play a Barrymore, but just something quirky might come out of it. You go, well, I might throw that in there. I might throw that in there. I don't know. But you're right. You don't do anything in depth until you get to rehearsal because you've got other people to relate
I was
to.
watching, even with our play, which has no social content, no political content, no, it's fluff.
Check
But
your
it's-
brain at the door.
But I actually watched movies from that period because it's set in the 30s, and I watched the behavior from the 30s and actually found I play an Italian character in the play, and I actually found this character. It was quite genius, and I kept watching it over and over because somewhere in that guy was the key to certain bits of behavior, and his accent was deplorably bad, but perfect for what I wanted.
So when you get into the rehearsal room and you do meet these other people and the director goes to work, how do you find your way in that collaboration? How much Is it the director? How much of it is just the mixing and melding of people?
Well, that's the alchemic element. That's the thing that you have no control over. You know, unless you're one of those actors in that dubious position of having control over casting, which I've always thought was a kind of weird sort of thing. But you know, that's the magical thing. That's the bit when all the, you know, that's like all the ingredients come together, and you have no idea how it's going to go, and you pray. Well, at least I do. I mean, you pray on a nightly basis that everyone's going to be as hardworking and conscientious as you are.
Right. Or not.
Or not. But you know, it's as much to do. And very often it's got very little to do with the skill in the room, or the because you know, you take it for granted that people are there because they, you know, someone knows what they're doing. But it can often be just a chemical thing between people, and often companies take a bit of time to settle and to kind of find the level, you know. And I've been very fortunate that in all the years that I've been acting, I've only had a bad experience like that once, which kind of isn't bad.
No,
You know?
No, are you
amazing,
kidding?
actually.
But the thing about the theater that you don't get anywhere else, and it's what I love about the theater, is the luxury of time. There's certain things you cannot just create. It's not instant pudding. I mean, it starts that way. It starts with
telling
things
me.
being thrown together. But a play, I always feel that I need at least 6 months. And around month 3 is where it really starts to take on much more of a life of its own. It's just time. You can't rush your relationship to people, to the words, to the space, to your understanding of what you're doing. And then there's that wonderful period of time where you stop working on the play and the play starts working on you. And there's an enormous freedom that comes with that. But you have to earn that. It doesn't matter how talented you are, who you're working with, unless you have the time. You can't force something to grow.
Which always
It
is
just grows on
interesting
its
to me
own.
because, you know, they've taken to reviewing plays in previews
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
which is like, you know, it's a work in progress still. And
We've all said that. Oh, it's
It's
3
just-
months
yeah.
later. Why don't they come
it's
Come
to
now,
atrocious
yeah.
because, you know,
Yeah.
I remember when I did View for a year, and even in month 7, I would come up, you know, I'd come up against the line, and I'd think, that's
Yeah.
what that means.
Yeah.
And it took me
Yeah.
that
I
long
understand.
to digest the thing in its entirety.
But you know what? To answer your question, I remember I did a production of Merry Wives of Windsor, and Daniel Sullivan was the director. I played Master Ford in the park. So we're talking. You know, I'd never worked with him before, and we're a few days into rehearsal, and I'm like, it feels like Master Ford, this character in Shakespeare, is doing a tragedy, and everybody else is in a comedy. I mean, you're the director, what do you think? And he said, you know, David, this is the 3rd time I've directed this play. I've never gotten it right. So I'm going, and I was like, oh my God, here we go. You know, so that was, sometimes it's that thing. It's a journey of discovery with everybody, the director included. So the way we worked, as I said, there was a particular scene where I was like supposed to come in disguise, but it wasn't really disguise because it's the theater and, you know, this whole thing. I'm like, well, how in disguise is he? So I would try these dialects, and it was like, well, I'll try this dialect today, and even if it's horrible, just let me just go through the run-through. It'll make itself known. I mean, we'll know if it stinks. And then, so we did that until we found something that was right. But, I mean, I don't know. That's how it worked in that particular thing. He did not have the answer. He did not come in the room saying, I have a concept for this production, and I know how to do it. I didn't either, so it was a journey together. I mean, I like that sometimes, you know.
I interviewed Shirley Knight very recently, and she made the comment that she never gives a performance, it's always a rehearsal. Is that sort of the feeling for you?
Does she take the rehearsal money?
Yeah, a little different. Yeah.
Not quite. Not quite.
It depends on the play.
A rehearsal is actually essentially a private experience.
Yes.
It's a private
Well,
thing. It's
you-
the actors and the
used to be.
director, or used to be. A performance
That's like a
is
universal.
Well, there's another character there, the audience.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you know, to take a play out of a rehearsal hall and put it on the stage, and all of a sudden the audience is there, and you guys know.
But I know
mean,
what
you
Ms.
think
Knight
you
means.
know how
I
this
know what
thing
she
is
means.
going, and
Yeah.
then
Well,
all
I
of a
think
sudden
she
the
could be
audience
that relaxed.
goes.
I don't-
But I mean,
Well,
She's a liar.
Yeah, you choose it, yeah. I mean, there is a constant evolution every time you do it. It's interesting because an audience that comes in, some audiences, we all have the little things in our room we can hear, and I can generally tell from the buzz, the chitter chatter, before the play, whether it's going to be a good night or a bad night. And sometimes I'm wrong, but mostly the tone of what's out there can really dictate what happens on stage.
My favorite sound is when you can hear a house full of people listening. That's a very specific sound.
It is.
It's a very specific silence. It's
But
not
what do
a dead silence.
I've
it's a
never
silence of-
experienced that.
But what do you do? If you're in a play where you can't let the audience hijack the play.
I know.
So there have
no
been
matter
times,
how much they may want to.
Right, but so there
matter
are
how many
nights though,
times that
as a
happens.
cast, we all know that we may have to muscle it a little harder tonight to control the audience. So that changes the performances, but
Well, there's the whole-
it just is, because if the audience is impeding in a way that we find uncomfortable, and it's not like we plan it and we talk about it and we strategize it. It's like you said, you hear it, you can feel it.
Well, we'll do a huddle. If we have a little, if there's a little break somewhere, I mean, I know that in the play we're doing now, Shaloub and I will go into a quick huddle. We're like, I think the air conditioning's off. They're falling asleep. Okay, louder, faster, go.
Exactly,
It's like,
exactly.
And then there's also the cell phone
Oh,
situation.
God.
Like what to
I was
do.
really worried about that when I came, but what do you do? I don't.
Well,
I
we-
ignore it. That's what I have to do.
I sort of, we all sort of huddled together before our show started running, and I was like, what's our policy going to be?
This is Time Stand Still.
Time Stand Still, and which is a quiet play, it can be. And unfortunately, the reality now is, I can remember a few years ago, a cell phone would go off once a week. And at least within this run, it was every show.
Yeah.
Every single show,
It is-
2 or 3 times.
It
every
astounds
single
me
show.
that they
It's
actually
unbelievable.
have the
Really?
announcement.
Oh yeah, before
Please turn
They
off
walk down the
your
aisle.
yeah,
cell
they
phone.
yell at you. We have one woman who run.
I'm not even
one
gonna-
usher. Anyway,
I'm not going to name names, but when I was years ago when I was doing View, there was a moment in the play, and a cell phone went off quite loudly, and the person took. And this was a very well-known person, took the call. And then got up. She was in the middle aisle. She got up and she kind of went, "Excuse me, excuse me."
Did she point to you like this,
Excuse me.
like-
No. She
heard like,
she
"Please,
then
okay."
walked. She then walked down the aisle, going, "I'm at the theater watching a play,"
Yeah.
and then walked out into
Yeah.
the lobby. Well, and it was.
Have you guys ever
know
stopped
better.
a performance and yelled at people?
well, I haven't yelled at people, but what we decided to do was to figure out whenever the cell phone would go off, is it something you can play through, or do you just hold? And what we would do is we would just hold if it was possible, because there's not just the phone ringing, there's the disgust of everybody around them, there's the finding of the cell phone in the bag, there's the talking of everybody, and it takes, you have to sort of gauge whether or not it's something you can breeze through, or if you have to recollect the audience.
How aware are you of what's going on in the house when you're performing?
Completely.
Really?
We know everything. We know every playbill that's being pushed. We know every bag that's under the seat. We know what woman's back isn't comfortable. You hear.
You hear everything.
You hear.
Really,
and
I don't
you
even
see
know what's
everything.
going on stage.
Well, you know what?
I think it depends on the
thought
play. If
that
it's a
it
very
would-
quiet
It's
play,
true.
you know what's
It
going on.
depends. It depends
If
on
it's a
what
very
you're doing.
boisterous
I was
play, you really
worried
don't.
about that, but there's nothing that's happened in the audience that has taken me out. So far out that I have had.
I don't think it's necessarily anything.
So you haven't had the congenital yawner yet. There's a
We
guy
had
that goes-
all of it. We had one guy, this old guy who sat in the front row, and he took his program and put it on his head like a hat. Now, clearly, there was a marital problem. That his wife, he didn't say anything, he didn't snore, but he was in the front row with the program on like a teepee, and you're just like, really, dude? Of course you notice it, because it's like, come on, man.
We talked about how performances grow and change and over time. What's the experience? At a certain point, your director leaves and then may come back after a certain point.
Wow.
What is the experience of when the director comes back and may tell you things, you may think you've grown, and your director may think you've strayed? What are those conversations like?
They're only visiting for a day. So it's kind of like having lunch with an ex who doesn't like your shoes. I mean, it can be like that, but I've had directors that have come back that were livid. They're absolutely, they're
Thank
great.
you.
But livid. I mean, livid. You could see that, but this particular director was very meticulous and wanted his actors to be almost like robots, to do exactly the play as we rehearsed it, as he left. Anything added, inflection, body movement, whatever, he got really ticked off, and it was amazing, truly amazing, that he was speechless and livid. We got notes, and then he went away, and then we settled in. Some of his, you know, some of them were really, I mean, I agreed with a lot of them, but I've had that also. The director never comes back. You know,
I think the issue is that it's a perfect example of the truly collaborative nature of theatre. That when the director comes back, he or she may notice changes which may or may not be to their liking, or may not be to the benefit of the production. But the truth is that you can't help but change.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an
It's
organic
going to
thing.
grow.
That's a
It's
part
going
of
to
the
grow.
process.
And
It's
it
going
may
to grow.
not, you know, the shoots that come off the main trunk may not be quite as perfect as you would hope, but the thing is, it's an inevitable process. And I think the director's job, I think, in that scenario, is to sort of accept that fact and then and just you know, do some pruning, surely.
Yes.
But you can't expect a play 2 months, 3 months, whatever down the line to be exactly the same as it was.
No, because you
on opening
discover
night.
stuff as you're going along, and it's going to change.
I think it depends on the director, too.
Also, we're so lucky because we have Stan Tucci directing us at the moment, and
I'll never work with him.
I recommend not. That's what he says about me now. But you know, he's the kind of person that will come back, and he understands that it grows. He understands that there's. In my case, there was exponential growth, so he's actually thrilled. So, it was not so hot in the beginning, but he has a great way of letting you incorporate the new stuff that you have without letting the play run away.
Right, that's good.
Yeah,
But he's
and-
also an actor, and I think
Yes, I think
actors
that
make
helps a
good directors,
great
and just
deal.
because they know what your growth period is and what happens and what you don't see and what you do see, and they
But
can
don't you think,
filter it.
you know, as a younger actor, all those weeks of arguing about everything in rehearsal because I have to do this way or that way. Yeah, when you're older, you realize the director is going to leave. So, and then the play is going to settle. So I don't really fret about a lot of that stuff as a younger actor. I mean, unless, of course, we're talking about the direction of the whole play or the character, if it's a major rift. But a lot of things that I used to fret about and try and work and butt heads about, I know he's going to go away or she's going to go away, it's going to settle, and those things will take care of themselves, you know.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned Stanley Tucci, who is directing certainly his first Broadway play. I'm not sure if it was his first play ever, but a well-known actor. There are actors who become directors. There are directors who've never acted. I'm always intrigued by Doug Hughes, who is the child of two actors, but he is a director, which I always consider the ultimate parental revenge. But I'm wondering, do you find differences between those who have been actors and those who have always traveled the directing route in terms of how they work with you?
Well, Doug was an actor, I think, before a director, and I mean, he gave such. I wish everybody in the world could have seen the speech that he gave before we started rehearsals for Royal Family, which is a love letter to the theater and to actors. And I admit, I was a little bit tired of it all, tired of the business part of it. And I walked into his rehearsal room, and he gave this speech, and he incorporated his parents, he incorporated his acting experience, he incorporated, things from the 16th century, passing the flame, and I cried for 3 hours after that. I was so moved by what he said. I was so taken to the roots of why we do this that I wish that he could have told that to everybody. I mean, I think. It was just such a wonderful speech about talking about how beyond that stage door, inside that door, nothing little happens. Big things happen through that. And when his parents would get up from the table to go every night you know, and I have a child, and you know, you get up from the table to go to the theater every night, and he would talk about how he wanted so badly to go with them because, so there's nothing more dead than a dead actor. I mean, it was just all these things. It was just these beautiful, beautiful things that he would say, and I said to my husband, I said, well, I retired and I'm back. He goes, and no one knew. I said, yeah, well.
Did you record that speech so you could play it every morning?
I wish I
You'd be
would have
like-
filmed it. It was just,
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
Well, that sounds like a director who loves actors. I've, you know, worked
Well, he
with
does.
directors
Yeah, he definitely does.
who I've gotten the distinct feeling that they don't like actors. I mean,
There's a
quite a
few.
few of them. I mean, where it's like, the sense that, you know, the theater is great except for one problem, the actors.
Only
You know,
I can
and-
do this in claymation.
Right, and
would be
you
so
have
good.
to work around with and amongst people like that too. So, yeah,
Which
that's
is which
part
is
of
so peculiar, I find, because
it
it's
is,
Why would you
but
choose
it's
that
a
profession?
reality.
Well,
You
exactly,
don't like
because
acting?
it's a problem that if you're making a movie, I mean, I'm sure we've all worked with lots of movie directors who really could work with, could care less about actors, and in a way, when you're making a film, it's different because you can somehow survive without the director somehow.
You can, and they just want to get in the editing room anyway.
Yeah, but in the theatre, which is essentially the actor's medium, you know, TV belongs to the writers, movies belong to the director, but a theatre belongs to us, and I think there's always that. It's interesting because it ties in with this whole thing about when the director leaves. Because I think, maybe I should just speak for myself, but I always find the day the director says, I won't be in tonight, there's a little tiny naughty boy inside me kind of going, yes! Get that.
There is, of course.
But, you know, but theatre directors who find actors an inconvenience,
Yeah.
they're in the wrong business. They're in the wrong business.
I think so, but I worked with them.
Yeah.
There's a very
I want
well-known
names and
actor.
addresses.
We're doing a production, and a friend of mine, he goes, I'm watching you for weeks. I don't really know exactly what you're doing with the character. And he goes, I don't want him to know. As soon as he leaves, I'll bring the real stuff out. So it was like warfare. It was like guerrilla warfare. It was hilarious. But because he said if I show him what I'm going to do, then he's going to change it and it's going to ruin it. So he was doing like a whole different character. Actors are crazy.
When you
too.
find yourself in that, situation where it becomes, and it can become a bit combative about choices. And I've been in situations not where there was disagreement about the whole play, but there were certain segments in the play where my interpretation I felt was correct, and the director felt their interpretation was correct, and so there's a bit of headbutting. And I was told by one director was, you could do it my way, or you can read the review in the New York Times, and but I did it my way, and it worked out fine. But that actually doesn't help if you're working with a director who's really kind of hell bent on getting their way. If you get, if that particular moment or piece or whatever it is in the play works out, it actually becomes more of a war. It becomes now this war of wills more than anything. It becomes about people's egos. And what you said was really interesting to me, because when I was young, I would fight everything. And I wasted so much energy. And now I go like this. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, great, fantastic. And then I'll probably do it my way again, and they'll go, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Well,
That's it, right there. Why couldn't you do that the first time?
Yeah.
Well, and in the best of situations, it's a joint discovery. And,
Yes,
you
that's...
know, in the best of situations, when you have directors who are, you know, the real men of the theater, I sort of think of them as, you know, they want to hear what you can bring to the table, stuff and insights that they don't know, and you want them to guide and shape and, you know, get the train going.
I have to say,
And
mostly,
that's-
those are the kinds of people I've worked with. I mean, I can't think of an awful experience.
But I
on
did like
stage.
on No Race,
Not
David
one?
would come in. David
Oh,
Mamet
the
would come
play,
in.
yeah, the play, you know, sucked wind, but the experience of working with the director.
Oh, I've had those moments, like within the first week, I'm like, oh, I'm going down on the ship.
Well, it
Here we
happens.
go. It happens. It
Oh,
does. I was
yeah.
going,
You know.
okay. All right,
Should
sense
I
of
jump
humor.
or should I
Let's
stay
go.
here?
I didn't
no,
know. Yeah, but you're
let's-
talking about
let's
collaboration.
go.
I didn't know how
Yeah.
collaborative David Mamet would be. Why would he want to
Because
listen
he's
to us?
both the director
and the writer.
The writer
but
in your
it was
case.
really wonderful, and I kind of liked that trip where we're all going down it together. I mean, he would come in, and say, "Look, I've been up all night. I'm fretting over this part of the play, and we're going to change everything." And so we'd all go, "All right. You're going to do this, you're going to do this. I'm going to take your line, I'm going to give it to him. He's going to stand over here. David, you're going to sit here. Now do it." And we go, "Okay." So we did it, and then at the end he goes, "What do you think?" And we go, "Please put it back the way it was." And he goes, "Okay, never mind." So I mean, that's what it was. It's collaborative, and I kind of like that. Not a director that says, "I know everything. It's going to be this way," as opposed to, "I wanted you to try something. It didn't work. I was wrong. Let's try
And
something."
you rather judge them on how they talk to other actors, too. You see how they interact with other actors, and you see the choices that they're both making, and you kind of can figure out, that was a mistake, or
the
that
really
was...
good ones understand that every actor is an individual. Some actors need, every actor needs a different kind of treatment in a way to get the best performance out of them. Some actors need to be kind of ignored and left alone. Some actors need to be yelled at. Some actors need coddling. Some actors need... It just depends.
Yeah.
That's
I
interesting.
can
And
remember.
so you become
Yeah.
the director. A good director to me is, part psychologist, part social worker as well.
Yeah. And then
parent.
they're the wonderfully generous directors who will sit and they'll watch you. And I can remember watching Richard Eyre do this, and I've seen Dan Sullivan do this as well. He'll be watching an actor, or they'll be watching an actor, and they'll notice something that they don't like. I can see it. I can see them clock it. I can see them realize that's not the right choice. That's not the greatest way to go. And they won't say anything because they know the next time through the actor will get there on their own.
Yeah.
And that is such a gift. I mean, that,
But you know,
it's-
Anthony Page would just make you do it over and over and over again, and when you just thought you were so there, so truthful, so in the moment, he'd go, "Let's do it one more time." And it was such a lesson because, of course, that's not your ultimate goal,
Yeah.
is that one time. You have to do it over and over again. So just
But
clocking those things.
You were talking about how directors talk to other actors. I remember working with Michael Bennett, and being in this long dressing room. There were like 4 actors, and he went down the line giving us notes, and it was like watching a schizophrenic. I mean, because every actor required a different thing. He yelled at the first guy, hugged and kissed the second guy. But that's what. But each person he knew. He was brilliant at knowing what you need, what your psyche needs to get what he wants.
They're
It's
the
such
biggest
so-
empathizers.
Such a
Yeah, and it was
delicate
just,
relationship
Yeah,
as
it
well.
is.
everybody was
Can I
different.
bring another relationship into this? Because we're really talking actor and director, but as you mentioned, David Mamet is also the writer. What is the relationship of the actor to the writer, obviously when you're working with a living playwright who's available to you in the room? Some people say the writer talks to the director talks to the actors. You're the child of a writer. I'm wondering about your perspective and how you interact with authors.
If the writer's still alive and it's a first production, I love having the writer there. I love him.
But that's different. I mean, if you need the writer there, especially no one's ever done the play.
Yeah, but
things
a
still
lot
have
of
to be
actors
worked
don't.
out.
Yeah. I'm always surprised at the amount of times when actors suddenly go, I wish the writer wouldn't keep talking.
But he birthed the play, so
Well, yeah,
your
It also depends
allegiance
on what
is...
they're saying, too.
Uh,
I know,
Yeah.
but I mean, I had,
That's true.
I had a situation where there was 2 very strong...
I should qualify my remarks. You're absolutely right.
There was a situation where I had 2 very strong. It was I did a play at the Public called On the Open Road, and Bob Falls was the director, and Steve Tessich, who's no longer with us, was the writer. And what was happening was that Bob would come up and I was doing it with Byron Jennings, and Bob would come up and give us this direction, and we'd be like, okay. And then he'd walk away, and then when he was just out of sight, Steve Tessich would come running over and go, I want you to do the complete opposite of what he just said. Yeah. And this went on for a day or 2, and then finally Byron and I went, you 2, come here. One of you guys talk to each other and decide what direction you want, but you can't both give us different direction. Yeah. And I mean, I look back on it now, and it's it was funny it's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time, but you can have that happen. But having like Tessich there was invaluable. He really had an insight into this piece.
The power in the room is between the writer and the director.
Yeah.
The actors are merely victims of whatever, collateral damage comes out of that relationship. Time to discuss, to work together, to collaborate, to get a kind of unified vision of what they want to achieve in the room, then 9 times out of 10 I would argue it's plain sailing. But it's when that relationship hasn't quite been absolutely worked out, and that's when the actors get stuck in this weird thing. That we become the innocent children in divorcing parents.
Yeah,
And you're kind of like torn because your loyalties. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have done a few plays with new plays with the writer present, and I've always found it to be very, very exciting to have the writer there. But often, a language or a grammar has to be worked out so that true communication can occur.
And also so that
Or helpful communication.
and also you don't want to alienate the director, because directors can feel a bit threatened. I see them sometimes if you're talking to the writer and you get in the corner and you see the director feeling like they've been excluded from something, and vice versa.
Especially if we're doing a lot of this.
Yes, and a lot of this.
But let me ask, when you've got the writer in the room, is there a temptation to ask to know more about your character than what's on the page?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
for me, yes.
And do the writers know that, and what do they share with you?
I think they share what they can, certainly. I mean, I don't think any writer would willfully be would be obscure about,
Yeah.
about
And
his
also,
work.
if it's really well written, all that information's in the script.
Well,
You just
I was
have to
gonna
find
say
it.
that.
there are
In the play I'm
hints
doing
throughout.
now, yeah. I mean, I
Well,
I wanted to use only the information that was in the script. Other than we're playing lawyers, would a lawyer do this or that, and legal, procedural questions. But in terms of the emotional life, to strip away all of that and say, I wasn't in the room when this conversation was held, therefore it should not impact, unless I find out later. Trying to adhere to the script. So that was freeing. To me, it was freeing. So I wasn't caught in the minutiae of all this,
I rehearsed a play with Edward Bond, Edward Bond, who wonderful writer. And
He is.
He was in the room, and we were rehearsing a scene, and suddenly Edward Bond said to the actor, "What does that line mean?" And the actor in question suddenly froze. It was a bit like being called up into the principal's office,
Yeah.
and the actor went, and he was completely tongue-tied. He suddenly felt under such pressure. And then Edward said, no, it's a genuine question, because I really have no idea what the line means.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really lucky with View from the Bridge that Arthur was still alive, and he was at every rehearsal.
Yeah, Arthur was amazing in rehearsal.
Oh
he came to the Crucible as
I
well.
would be
Yeah.
doing something, and I'd go, when you wrote this bit, what did you mean exactly?
That's
Why
kinda
am I not
cool.
going to?
That's kinda cool.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
is
And
very
he
cool.
was so because he'd seen that play done in every language in every country, over the last 50, 60 years. He was the best resource. Mostly I was asking him what not to do.
And what was his relationship with the director?
Fantastic.
So
everybody kind of we just felt very blessed to have him there.
Well, it
and he
depends
was,
on the
and he's
writer,
also
doesn't it?
he was also such a kind of he definitely was like a regular Joe. He was
He's a theater guy.
he was so
You know?
great. He was.
He's a theater guy.
We talked about, like, with David Mamet, about productions. There are always these productions of his plays around, and I was like, well, what do you do? Because he was so attentive. This was a new play we were doing. He was directing it, and he said, well, my work is done. And, he really, I don't want to speak for him, but from our conversations, it was kind of like, I've written the play, you're the new director, this is your new cast, go and do it. Now, unless there was a real big problem, he didn't really make it a policy to kind of hover around,
Well, in the case of Arthur Miller, who you're discussing, it's almost as if, you're doing a classic, but the author's still there. I mean, we've been talking about new plays. That's an unusual circumstance
I
when you
love
have
that,
an
though.
acknowledged classic, but can still go talk to the author. There are other times you do classics, certainly Shakespeare or, Molière, Ibsen, where you don't have an author to talk to. And is that a different experience when it is just you, script, and your company and your director?
Oh yeah. But
Especially-
then if you're doing one of those big classic plays like a Shakespeare or a Shaw or something like that, you've also got something else which is can be useful, which is a collective memory of all the other productions that you may have seen or experienced of that play, and all of that. It's like a big mush of compost. It's all useful stuff that you can use, and I remember doing the first time I did a Shakespeare play. It happened to be a play that I'd seen 2 years before, and I was full of the performance of this other actor in that role, and I stole shamelessly because there was so much of it that really worked. And I
Oh,
thought,
listen, I steal all the time.
I'm
It's
gonna,
like, are you kidding?
You know what
I love stealing.
But then you trust that the other people involved in the production are hopefully more.
Haven't seen the one that you're
I
stealing.
haven't seen the one that you stole from, but also are smarter than you about that particular play. But
Well, Shakespeare, the whole the language. As a really young actor in college, it was like, how do I make this language comfortable and real and spontaneous, the way Shakespeare wrote? And I would go to the library at University of Michigan and listen to all the versions of, because they had recorded everybody. And these are recorded, the Royal Shakespeare. And so it was really useful just to hear how people handled the language as a really young actor. And then, like
isn't it
you
scary
said,
though how
it
acting
is,
styles change?
Yeah.
so
It is.
quickly?
I mean,
amazing?
the farther back you get, it's
Scary.
really scary.
There's a war going.
There's the wobbly voice.
Right, but like you said, compost. It's a bunch of information, and you kind of sit inside of it.
I would stay with the wobbly voice.
The warbly, I was doing well with the warbly thing.
No, but that's something because I availed myself to those recordings when I was
Yeah.
a student as well, and I lost myself, and they were
They're
fantastic.
really
Yeah,
fun. It's
yeah.
fun to,
But-
you were saying, fun to do the research.
But the sense of the changes. I mean, I would be curious to know how. I think acting styles change maybe every other decade or something, but I'd be curious to know that anyone whose career is maybe 30 years or more, how, if you saw your work, especially on stage, which we can't do, but if you saw your work from 30 years ago on stage, just how different one would be. And I imagine that the change is really quite staggering.
I think it coincides with the changes in our lives in our current society. I mean, I'm sure you're the same. When I was a kid, there were no cell phones. I never had a computer. What the hell was that? And with all that, that's just an example of kind of like this exponential growth of technology and information, and we have so much more information around us on a daily basis, for better or for worse, but we have it, that informs us more as humans, and I think that comes into performances. The more informed you are as a human being, it can't not permeate who you are, and then that in turn comes out in your performances.
Yet theater, fundamentally, you mentioned technology. Theater has not changed. It is about being in the moment.
Just a little
you
bit.
can't go back and look at it yourself, typically, unless it's been recorded for an archive. Would you want to see what you had done years earlier?
You.
I'd be curious. I must admit, I don't think I'd want to sort of try and emulate it in any way, but I'd be curious to know.
It's because it's such a live form. And I don't like when things are recorded, to tell you the truth, because I think that the definition of theater is it's happening now. It's not happened before.
And it
didn't
may
have
not
any
happen tomorrow. It's
retouches,
just
and it
right
didn't have
there.
this.
It's
It's just,
different.
it's
Okay.
right now. And no matter what happens, like if a cell phone goes off, I actually quite love going, geez, was there a piece of information we needed to really get out there? Should we go back? And everybody being with you and going, we got to go, just by eye contact, we got to go back, because that's the crux of the second act,
But
things
that's
like
an agreement you make with the audience. I mean, I remember going to a play years ago at the Public. It was called Prayer for My Daughter. And at this key moment, police, this drug addict, grabs the policeman's gun, he holds him at bay, and this gun exploded. I mean, like the bullets came out, the barrel fell out, it just fell apart. But as an audience member, at least for me, we held perfectly still in silence as the actors went, gathered this thing together, put it back together, went back, and pushed on because it was theater, because they had held us that long, and it was exciting to see how they were going to figure out and then continue the storytelling. But it's only in theater that that could help, and that could work, rather.
And the audience usually feels like they're in on something.
Yes,
when that
yes.
happens.
That happens
I'm sure the actors were mortified. But,
Well,
I mean,
but
we were
there were
like-
times, when we go up, or or you do something on stage that I found is audiences actually really enjoy it because they feel like for a minute they're kind of like inside the play somewhat.
I think they do, but
It's
I
not
think
a great
they
thing,
don't.
but
I think they do, but I think they don't. I think they want to be in this world of I think they want to watch it. I think that, as somebody was saying, that there was, the producers was going on in L.A., and there was this moment that the audience, that the two actors broke, and they put it in the show. And Jerry Stiller, who is, one of our great comedians, he came to the show, and he said, "I loved it. Don't do the laughing thing. You're better than that." Wow. And I really agree with that. I just think it's...
If you build it in, that seems cheesy.
Yeah, I know, that's
that
cheesy,
seems
but-
cheesy, but if it happens spontaneously.
Yeah, but it's if it happens at the same point, though, I just think that the audience, I just think that they've paid a lot of money to be in this experience where there is, that there's this different reality going on up there.
But
that
what
there's
I'm
not.
talking about are unforeseen
Yes,
circumstances.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
theater,
Which makes
as
it
in life,
exciting.
it's never going to be perfect, and things happen on the stage that you have to soldier through and find a way out, and just keep going.
And you all have to be malleable, and that's what's
Yeah.
great about it, is you're all in that experience together.
Yeah.
And if something goes desperately wrong, it's exciting to see this action on the stage of how are we going to get through this together.
It's
gotta
not,
ask you a
not that
question.
exciting.
I gotta ask you a question.
When I got stuck out on stage because I forgot where I was.
and then I just went in the closet because that was the only thing I could do. Then when I went in the closet, I remembered where I was supposed to be, and I came out and went back to the closet.
That's the performance.
But everybody thought it was part of the play.
programs? What do you do about programs? Because when we started our run, it was like, somebody put their program on the stage.
Oh,
and then
I
James goes,
kicked them
James
off.
goes, he kicked it off, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. Because if that were me, I'd be stressed for the whole performance. So that was on his side of the stage. And like a few weeks later, someone puts a program on my side. I'm like, well, I got to kick it off. James kicked his off, so I'm on this side. I got to hold this down. I got to kick it off. So I, doing this line, I go and I went, I did this
Oh my gosh.
I did this soccer kick
You punted it. Like,
so hard for
Back
the
of the
rest
theater.
of the performance. Every time I walked near there, the guy was like, I was like, well, you put it on the stage.
That's the one. I try to think of myself as a rational,
Yes.
caring human being. But the one thing that really just pushes my buttons is when people do things like put their playbills on the stage, prop their feet up against the stage. Because I think, and I make no apology for sounding kind of sort of pompous about this, but I think that's a sacred space.
Yes.
Well, that's pompous.
no, I try, yeah.
I want to ask a quick question for quick answers before we wrap. I know that we have a Juilliard alumnus, a Yale School of Drama alumnus. If you now could give
Madam
your-
Zena's Acting Academy.
Yes, no School of Acting Academy.
No school of
if you could give your younger self when you were starting out one piece of advice that you've learned, is there a single thing you wish you had known then that you know now?
Don't make up your mind too soon. Learn to think twice.
Mine would be respect everyone, revere no one.
In the auditioning process, never walk into a room with your cap in your hand.
How do you mean? Can you explain that?
Yeah, don't go in like they're doing you a favor. It's an equal exchange. You're giving them your talent, they give you money. That's the equal exchange in being hired as an actor. So many actors go into auditions kind of with this kind of begging quality, and I think that you have to respect yourself as an actor, and you just don't walk in with your hat in your hand. If you get the part, you do, and if you don't, never mind. There's another one.
There's no last part. I mean, when I was a much younger actor, I was like, I have to get this role because they'll never do a film like this. There'll never be a part like this. There'll never be a production like this. If I don't get this role, then my life will never be the same. There's always another role, another part. So you kind of, it's like what you said. You get it, you don't get it. Yeah. Also, do not dress in character because if things go badly, that's a long drive home. So,
trust me, I've seen where people dressed as Catwoman walking across in the long
don't just give them a hint, but don't dress in Victorian head to toe. That's all.
I think it's to not be afraid of the fact that no one is one thing. That a lot of times you have to be careful about what people say to you because you can take it too intensely. And people will say, oh, you're this type, you're that type, you're this kind of actress, you're that kind of actress. And that can really stunt somebody. I think you can let people say whatever they want to say, but just realize that there's so much more to every human being. You know, actors don't do just one thing. We do a lot of things.
But aren't you, I'm constantly amazed how complete strangers come up and tell me what I should be doing.
Oh, absolutely,
I just fucking floors.
I'm just intelligent but wounded.
It floors
That's all
me.
I am.
You know,
I got career advice from a Sky Cap, and I'm like, could you put my bag in the car?
Could you?
What? Really?
Or could you become my agent? Because that's not a bad idea.
But I think it's just to keep just stay with it. Just keep learning. I don't know.
Well, thank you all so much. This has flown by, and thank you for your time today, and thank you so much for the extraordinary performances you've been giving us all for so many years.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. These programs are brought to you from the Graduate Center of the City University of New York in partnership with our friends at CUNY TV. On behalf of the American Theater Wing, I'm Howard Sherman, and thanks for joining us for another edition of Working in the Theater.
I'm Ted Chapin, chairman of the American Theater Wing. The Wing has played a vital role in New York's theatrical life for more than 60 years. Best known for creating the Tony Awards, we stand for excellence, but we also support education in the theater, and our work reaches beyond Broadway in New York. The Working in the Theater television programs, which are supported by the Annenberg Foundation and the Dorothy Strelsin Foundation, are unequaled forums for discussions with today's most creative artists. Downstage Center's in-depth radio interviews were created in conjunction with XM Satellite Radio and can be heard on our website. Our annual theater company grants support New York not-for-profits, and since they began, have distributed nearly $3 million. We are also pleased to be the home of the Jonathan Larson Grants, which support emerging composers and lyricists. For people who are starting their careers, we have a 2-week boot camp for aspiring actors from colleges across the country called Springboard NYC. And our theater intern group provides a forum for young people who are starting their careers to build a professional network. All of the American Theater Wing's educational and media programs are available for free on demand from our website, americantheaterwing.org. Thanks for your interest in the Wing, and thanks for watching.